Kevin Elizabeth, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how you can take the best possible honeymoon photos. The first thing that I want to tell you guys is that you do not have to have a fancy camera to take good photos. The best camera is the camera that you know how to use. If you go off and you buy a new camera and you don't bother to learn how to use it the right way, that's not going to do you as good as your iPhone that you know how to use hopefully really well by this point. So that's one point I really want to make. You don't have to have fancy gear to take an amazing photo. I've taken some terrible photos on my professional equipment, and I've taken some amazing photos on my iPhone. So it's just all how you're using it, and that's really important. So I don't want you guys to feel like you have to have a really great camera in order to take beautiful honeymoon photos. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if you guys want to buy something like a GoPro that you can take underwater, I would actually really recommend that, and that's something that we kind of wish we had. There are actually places where you can rent them. I know like lensrentals.com might rent them, but you guys can search around if you don't want to buy one or borrow one from a friend. You don't have to buy it, you don't have to spend more money. You can just find somebody who has it or just pay a little bit less for a rental. So that's what I would recommend as far as if you want to get a new camera. But if you do get a new camera, read the manual, learn some things online, take a few YouTube video courses. You can do all of these things to help yourself take better photos, and you will get much more worth out of your camera if you do that. When you guys are shooting on your honeymoon or really anywhere, be intentional. And what I mean by that is don't just like shoot. Be a little bit more intentional about it. So over the years, especially since I've started shooting film, which is very expensive, every time I take a photo on my film camera, it's $2 to $3, just depending. And so that makes me a little bit more choosy and not even like not taking photos of something I want to take photos of, but I think, do I really want a photo of that? Am I actually going to use that? Nah. Okay, don't bother with it. Or maybe just snap it on the iPhone real quick if I wanted to post it somewhere. But I really try to take the photos for my personal life of things I'm actually going to use in post. And not only does that kind of make me more enjoying of my surroundings because I'm not constantly taking pictures, it also gives me less photos to come home with, which you might be thinking, wait, don't you want more photos? I don't. As somebody who culls thousands and thousands of photos usually every week, I want less. I want less for my personal life because if I come home from a 1-week trip with 500 vacation photos, I'm really not going to want to go through them. I'm not going to want to edit them. On my 10-day trip to England that I just went on, which I did blog about, I will put links down below in the description. I actually came home, I think, with maybe 247 photos that I kept. I think I shot maybe around 300, and so that was really manageable, and I didn't have a hard time editing those, and I enjoyed having less because the photos that I had, I used almost all of them in my blog, so they all had a purpose, they all had a reason for me taking them. So that's just my really long-winded way of saying be intentional. Now again, don't like not take a photo of something you want to take a photo of, but to live in the moment and to have your photo gallery be less overwhelming for you, think a little bit before you shoot. Think, do I want a photo of this? Am I going to do anything with it? Or is it just going to be snapped and live on a computer and I'm never going to look at it again? Another way of being intentional that's really important is if there's something you want to take a photo of, think before you take it. Think, is this the best angle? Is this the best kind of lighting I can get with? And then I'll talk about that in a little bit, but kind of think a little bit about it. Is there a better place I can stand, or is there a better angle I can get? So for example, if you see some wild dogs on the beach and you want to shoot a photo of them, don't get a photo of the dog's butthole, okay? Like just be patient and wait for the photo of the side of the dog where you can see its face, or the front of the dog. So always kind of move around or wait and be patient for, if you're shooting a moving subject, for it to get right where you want it. I have spent sometimes like up to 5, 6, 7 minutes for one single photo because I wanted that photo. I waited in England for a couple photos of the sheep that I shot. I was waiting for them to cross the road and look at me, be in the right spot, and that to me was totally worth it. So instead of coming home with 50 crappy pictures of the sheep, I came home with like 3 or 4 solid photos of the sheep that I could actually use, and that were the best possible photos I could get in those conditions. So just be intentional about what you're shooting if you really want to shoot it, and then where you're shooting it from, what it looks like and get the right angle. So maybe if you're trying to shoot a photo of a flower in a bush, and then you say to yourself, oh, this flower actually kind of looks a little bit dead, so let me find a better looking flower, or let me get a little bit different of an angle, or maybe if I shoot this flower over here, the background of the other flowers looks a lot nicer and fuller than over here. There's kind of black holes from the bushes in the background. So just be intentional, and that will make you a way better photographer than most any other tips will. That is really the key to getting great photos, is being patient, having the right eye, being intentional about your shooting. Now, as far as what to take photos on your honeymoon, of course you guys should take photos of each other. And for that, I think I have a video you guys could watch to make sure that you kind of have a little bit of basic posing in, and that's kind of my posing mistakes here and how to fix them. So I would highly recommend watching that. That will cover most of the top posing things I see, but remember, always make sure you guys have good posture, pose each other. If you just tell them to stand there and take a photo of them, you're gonna come back and look at the photo and they're not gonna like it, and you're gonna have to go back and forth. So pose each other, help each other look good, take care of each other, and then also make sure to ask somebody to take a photo of you guys together. If you're not hiring a professional for a shoot on your honeymoon, get a couple people. I would say look for the people who look most capable of taking a great photo. Typically, I don't know, like we try to shoot for people around our age who kind of understand, and then specify. Say, do you want head to toe? You always should probably tell people, or hey, we want to get this in the background horizontal, or we want head to toe vertical so we can show our full outfits in a little bit of the background. So specify to people, because they might not know, and they might take a couple, hand it back to you. You might not think to like check them, and maybe you don't want to have them standing there taking 30 photos of you, but just specify ahead of time, and that's a really great way to make sure that you're at least getting most of the kind of photo that you want of the two of you. So when it comes to other things to photograph, I love to photograph little bits of landscape or nature, little smaller details that aren't people, to kind of commemorate the trip and to show off little features of where we were and what things were like, what the culture was like. Again, I'm being very intentional when I'm shooting this, but that's just what is something that's really nice to do. It kind of fills out your album, so it's not all people. It really shows the story. It shows what it felt like to be there, and that's a really great component to taking beautiful honeymoon photos, is to make sure you guys kind of captured the whole scene. It's like your wedding, you know, your photographer is getting people photos that are posed, some that are candid. They're also getting shots of your like reception centerpieces and all of those things. All of those little details make up the story of your wedding or of your honeymoon, so make sure you guys don't neglect those. Now, I mentioned taking photos of each other. So since you are going to be in some photos, I would recommend packing some cute clothes. Now, cute does not have to mean impractical. For our honeymoon, I wanted to make sure that the only pair of exercise loungewear I took was going to be worn on the flight. So I, in the past, have gone on vacations and I've worn too many, like, I don't know, exercise clothing, like yoga pants or like Nike shorts. And then I look in the photos and I'm like, I'm just wearing that the whole time. It's not very cute. And I could have worn something totally different. So what I did when I just went to England was I made sure to pack cuter outfits. I packed a pair of white Keds sneakers. Those were practical but also cute, and I was able to wear them with cute dresses and all kinds of just really lovely outfits that were comfortable, like a black jumpsuit I wore, but also still cute. So I kind of packed in mind for, I'm gonna be comfortable, but I also wanna be cute in my photos. So that's one thing I see in a lot of my friends' honeymoon photos, is that the whole time that they were on their trip, they were always in like exercise and lounge gear. Now, if you're okay with that, that's totally fine, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I am specifically speaking from me getting home, looking at my photos and thinking like, "Ugh, I wish I had some cuter outfits for this trip." So that's just something that I would keep in mind for you guys. You know, you can kind of pack practical shoes, but maybe your shorts, instead of exercise shorts, they're actually like cute cotton shorts. Maybe something with a pattern on them, like a really cute top like this I'm wearing right now. Like I could totally wear this in some sort of a more active situation. Like it's comfortable, it's practical, but it doesn't look like an exercise shirt. It's a nice cotton shirt from Banana Republic. So things like that are gonna be really helpful for you guys. Also think about the colors that you want to wear. Do you want to wear pastels? Do you want to wear bolder colors? What's going to look really good in the environment? Now, of course, this is a very like picky thing, but if you're really wanting to make the most out of your photos of each other and the ones that you have other people take of you together, making sure that you're going to like what you're wearing in those photos is really important, because if you come home and you're like, I don't like what I wore the whole time because I only dressed to be comfortable, never to be like comfortable but also really cute, you might not want to post them and you might not be as excited about them. So that's just a really big tip I have that I have learned from experience. So here is the slightly more technical part of this video, and I'm going to try to talk about this in as simple of terms as I possibly can. So when it comes to taking better photos, a lot of it is all about light. If you guys are trying to take a photo of yourselves in a dark restaurant at dinner, chances are that's probably not going to be a really good photo. So what you guys need is light, but you need a good quality of light. Now, if you guys are trying to shoot each other at noon or 1 p.m., basically the middle of the day, the sun is going to be directly over your heads, which creates really dark shadows in your eye sockets because the light comes down and it doesn't fill in the sockets of the eye, and then it keeps going. It just makes for very harsh shadows, and it's very unflattering most of the time. So I would say try to avoid those or find a little bit of shade. When it comes to where the sun is, what I love to take photos of is the sun behind my subjects, but that really scares and intimidates a lot of people, and there's a good reason for that. So typically when you take out something like your iPhone or you have any sort of camera that you put on an auto mode, when it sees the bright sun behind all of the people or whatever you're trying to shoot, it freaks out and it makes everything really dark. So people will say, I'm trying to pose something, and they're like, oh my God, you're shooting with the sun behind you. Isn't that really hard? And I say, no, because I'm setting the settings for my camera. I'm not letting it think for me. So if you guys have an iPhone, and I'm really sorry Android users, I don't know about Android, but on iPhone, I can show you guys there is a really neat trick that you guys can do with photos, and a lot of people don't know about this, which really surprises me. So let me hold this up. I'm trying to look into my monitor to try to take this. So if you guys see right now, it's really bright. So if I tap and I hold, and then a little square pops up, and I can drag the exposure down if I want to make the photo darker. I can keep going darker and darker. And if I want to go lighter, I swipe up. So as long as that little box is on there, what you guys have is an exposure control. And that is extremely helpful. I cannot tell you, this has been out for years, but very few people know about it. And some people know about it, but they never use it. It is so helpful. So if you guys are going to take a picture of the sun behind something, tap and hold till that little yellow square flashes and it locks. Then swipe up to make your photo brighter or down to make your photo darker. That way you guys will have the exposure you want, so you no longer have to be afraid of the sun behind you. Hopefully Android phones or other brand phones have something similar, or you guys can use an app that has a feature like that. But it is a really handy tool on your iPhone. And so if you guys are having somebody take a photo of you who might not know how to do that, have your husband or your wife stand where you're going to take the photo, set it up for the person who you just asked to take your photo, get the exposure right, and tell them all they have to do, get a head to toe, get whatever, click the thing, and then your exposure is really lovely. You don't have to try to edit a piece of dark garbage. You have the photo that you want. So that's a really handy tip. Now, if you guys have more of a professional camera, but you're still shooting it on auto mode, that's going to also give you the same problem most of the time, and it's really hard to get into the technical specifics of this and not overwhelm you guys. But what I would say is start reading your manual, maybe learn about aperture priority mode, which is a little bit of a step between manual and auto. So, and then once you're in aperture priority mode, you guys can set the exposure. I don't even know what it's called because I never use it. I'm always on manual. The exposure compensation. So that can help you, but you do have to learn this on a video. I cannot go into this right now, but just learn maybe at least how to shoot on aperture priority with exposure compensation, and that's going to help you. So look up those terms, read all about it, watch a couple of videos, and it will really help. It would take me a little bit too long to go into that here, so I'm sorry I can't do that. But basically what I'm saying is don't let the camera think for you if you're not happy with the result it's giving you. There are always little things you can tweak. It's not the sun's fault, it's the camera thinking for you's fault, okay? So that's just a great tip. Now, if you do want to shoot with the sun shining on the subject, just know that it's going to be a little bit more contrasty. If you're trying to shoot a person like that, what you need to do is you need to have them close their eyes and count to 3, open them as soon as you're taking the photo, because it's going to be bright and they're going to be squinty if you have them just standing there with their eyes open waiting for you to take the photo. So that's something that I will people even do. I have very sensitive eyes to light, so I just cannot keep my eyes open in certain situations, so I have to ask people, like, can you please count? Like, I cannot see, like, I'm crying, my eyes like are watering. So that's something that I always ask for. So that's a trick you guys can do if the sun is shining directly on your subject. I love the sun coming from behind my subject because it creates beautiful lighting around the hair. It's very ethereal, it's very dreamy, but sometimes what I'm shooting, I have to shoot it with the sun on it. With people, I typically do that further away because of that contrasty, harsh sun. Sometimes it can make the skin, if you have any imperfections on your skin, stand out. So I'm typically not taking close-up photos of people in harsh, direct sun, but I love like further wide shots that lets you really show all of the colors of the area. But basically that's as much as I can kind of go into without being too overwhelming. I hope this video is helpful for you guys for taking the best possible honeymoon photos. If you guys have any specific questions about things that you're struggling with taking photos of things, you can certainly ask me in the comments down below and I will be sure to answer them. See you guys next time. Bye!